Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Steven.
I'm Lori.
Hi, welcome. So, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things. The first one being confidentiality. So, what confidentiality is that basically anything that is said here in the room stays here in the room. However, I'm a mandated reporter, and there's four things that I'm allowed to break confidentiality for. The first one being elder abuse, the second one being child abuse, the third being if I feel like you're a danger to yourself, and the last one being if I feel like you're a danger to others. So I will have to break confidentiality if I feel like any of those four things are happening. With that being said, let's get into why you're here today.
So basically, I've been having a lot of panic attacks recently. I'm getting really anxious, and I don't really know where it's coming from. So it's been hard.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any recent life changes or maybe death in the family or moves or anything that you could really pinpoint recently?
No, none of that. It's been happening for a while.
What's a while?
Probably since I was 7 or 8, I've been having panic attacks, and just more recently, they've been occurring more often. So I would get a little anxious here and there when I was growing up and stuff, but more recently, they've just been really bad, 3 or 4 times a week. And I've been shaky and nauseous, and I haven't been able to eat super well. And so I just felt like it was time to kind of come in and talk to someone about it.
Mm-hmm. And there's not anything particular you could think of that would be directly causing this anxiety?
Not really. I mean, there's some stressors in my life. I have, my family, some family stuff going on. And I don't really love where I'm at as far as school goes, but I didn't really think that had any effect on it.
Mm-hmm. What is going on with your family currently? You said you have problems at home.
Yeah. My parents just don't really get along. They fight all the time, and my dad can be really scary sometimes, and so I just want to make sure I'm around to protect my mom, and that's been kind of hard.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like it can be really difficult. So tell me about your family.
So I live with my parents right now while I'm going into school, and there's just some issues with my parents. They've always kind of fought a lot, but more recently there's been some physical violence and stuff that I've noticed, and it makes me really worried for my mom, and we're really, really close, and so I don't want her to get hurt, and I'm fearful when I'm out of the house what's going on, and so that's causing me some anxiety, definitely. But like I said, I've always had anxiety, and so I don't know, I guess maybe that's one of the reasons that it's so often now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it can be really difficult. Growing up, you really look at your parents as role models, and so seeing violence like that can really have a lasting impact on your view of relationships and your view of your parents. So yeah, watching your parents fight can really be anxiety provoking. What is your relationship with your dad like?
Not great.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that he was, physically violent with my mom, I kind of lost all respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been hard to kind of gain that back still.
When was the first time you saw him being physically violent with your mom?
Probably about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was tough because they had always yelled, and they'd always, we've always witnessed them fight, me and my sister, but never quite like that. And that was kind of really the turning point. That was just like hard on my relationship with him. And so I almost feel like them fighting the way that they did kind of maybe made me feel closer to my mom, even because I've always been like close with her, but I feel really like protective over her too.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you say is that witnessing violence in your home has really made you feel unsafe at times. And so you said that 4 years ago, when your dad started increasing his violence, that your relationship changed. What did that change look like to you?
Basically, I hadn't lost respect for him at that point. And then, because me and my mom were so close, when he would like hit her, it would really just impact how I looked at him. And like, I would look at him and I just feel like kind of disgust, and I didn't want to talk to him. Even now, like when he says I love you, it's really hard to say it back. Mm-hmm. And like I mean, I guess it just stems from that fact that he really changed how I felt about him once the violence increased. Mm-hmm. So
I can't even imagine how difficult it is to watch him hurt somebody that you love so much and care for. When was the last time your father was violent?
It was pretty recent. I think like maybe like 5 months ago. Yeah, we were at dinner, just my house, and my sister wasn't there. It was just me and him and my mom, and we were actually talking about my sister, and I made a comment as like a joke that was like kind of mean, I guess, but he got really defensive over my sister actually, and I was just trying to explain that I was joking, but he was already in a bad mood, like mm-hmm. We kind of started off dinner and he was upset and he was drinking. And so I couldn't really calm him down once he started getting defensive. And so anyway, I kind of turned to my mom to like kind of get some backup. And she agreed because he got way too out of hand. Like he was right initially to kind of calm me out, I guess, but he was just taking it over the top with being aggressive. Like he was scary. And so what ended up happening was there was like a knife on the table, and he kind of got in my mom's face a little bit, and she like grabbed the knife, but like she didn't like pick it up. She didn't like, mm-hmm. She didn't threaten him or anything, but he kind of took her even reaching as like a threat. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up like taking the knife and like kind of going behind her, and you would think like he would hold it up to her throat, but like he actually held it up to his, and he was like, "Is this what you want?" kind of thing. And I like didn't know what to do. I was like screaming, like asking him to stop, and I don't know like how it happened, but I think like he hit her then, and it hadn't happened for a while, and so like when he hit her, I went crazy. Like mm-hmm. I started throwing punches and like mm-hmm. kicking him just because I think I was so traumatized by him like hitting her, and because there was like a gap in the timeline, I was just like, it shocked me. And so I called the cops, and but I left and I went to my friend's house, and the cops like came, but my mom, like at that time it had de-escalated, and my mom was just like, no, you can go. And it was really a crazy situation.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That must have been really difficult for you to share. I really want to just highlight how the strength that you had to call 911 and really actually get them to de-escalate the situation. You did say something though that concerned me about your dad and his drinking. Does your dad normally get angry when he drinks?
I mean, I don't know if like he's always angry when he drinks, but when that does happen, when he does get angry, the chances are that he's had like a drink in his system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I would consider him an alcoholic though. I mean, like he drinks, but he's not like plastered, you know. Mm-hmm. He knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So.
You say your dad has been violent with your mom. Has your dad ever been violent with you or your sister?
You know, he's never come at me with any kind of like physical stuff, like violence wise or anything like that. He has a little bit to my sister, and I think it's just because, you know, she's older and we have very different personalities, and she's kind of like a person that has to have the last word, to where like I kind of understand his personality, and so you know, I just stay quiet when he's in a mood like that. But yeah, I mean, really, it's mainly been focused on my mom. But yeah, you're right. Like it's caused me a lot of like stress in my house. For the most part, and I feel like I'm just kind of waiting for it to stop and to turn around. And I've questioned like whether my mom would get out of that situation, but I don't know.
So when you're faced with situations like this, is there anything that you do or anybody you reach out to for kind of as support?
There's really no one else I talk to. Like I always talk to my sister, my mom, like during and like right after things like this happen, and we kind of just like support each other, I guess.
So it sounds like you have strong family support at home. How are your relationships like with people outside your family?
They're good. I would say I've always kind of kept my friend group small, but I feel like that's just kind of protected me from having like fake people in my life. So the friends that I have are really good, but like I would say I probably have like 3 or 4 friends outside of my family, and they're people I trust, but they're not necessarily people I would want to confide like really personal information, like struggles that my family and I go through. Mm-hmm. I guess I just feel like it's not really their like problem, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So, do you view your friends as distractions from what's going on in your home?
Wow. I don't think so, but maybe I do that. I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to talk about my personal stuff. I guess I don't want to feel judged by them for what's kind of going on in my house. Like, I don't want them to like feel worried to come over because they view my dad as like scary, like kind of like I do, you know. So yeah, but I guess I would agree. I might kind of see them as distractions because I don't want to go into my problems. I kind of just want to not focus on it.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say is that you don't want your friends to see your dad's anger because you're afraid that's going to impact your friendships.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that is what I'm saying. I feel like if people come to my house and if my dad's in a mood and because my dad doesn't care. Like when he gets upset, he'll go off and he doesn't care who's around, obviously, because me and my sister were always present for like all of their fighting, even like the real violent stuff. We were there. So I just feel like he doesn't care. And if my friends are watching that, then, like if they're at my house, then they probably won't like ever want to come over anymore. Because like who would? Like who wants to be in a situation? It's just really uncomfortable and awkward. And yeah, I just feel like it's easier to not have that many friends than to have to go through something like that, I guess. So
That makes sense. And it's really selfless of you to want to not bring people into that negative situation. But what I want to make sure is that you're safe. And so, do you have a safety plan for when these violent outbursts occur?
no, I always have stayed, and I feel like I stayed to kind of like protect my mom. So I didn't really think about putting anything in place, really.
Mm-hmm. So between now and next session, I'd like you to think of a list of people that you could call in case there's another violent outburst in your home, and maybe come up with just like a list of things that you would need to take with you in order just to get out quickly and safely. You think you could do that for me?
Yeah, I can do that, and so we'll just kind of like go over it next time, I guess.
Yeah, next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.